5, Bass Pro Shops Bassmaster Classic presented by Under Armour here on beautiful Lake Ray Roberts. We're seeing a beautiful aerial shot there with the standing timber, the boats amongst it. We have had an action-packed morning so far on Bassmaster Live, but this is the Bassmaster Live cast. We want to say hello to all of our friends on YouTube watching, tuning in. We are here inside the Expo with my co-host, Andrew Hayes, who I didn't realize until we started this is such a celebrity. Ever since we got here, he's been signing autographs and taking pictures and signing babies and doing everything else. I'm sure Bill Lowen, our special guest on the first segment here, has probably been doing a lot of the same. But, Bill, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. You know, the Expo is completely packed. It's crazy out there. I was actually doing the Yamaha signing, and here we are now. So it's just going to be one of them days where we're bouncing around. Yeah, very exciting.
Are you excited to watch some fishing with us here?
Absolutely.
This is the next best thing, right? If you can't be you can't be out there on the water. I mean, this is the next best thing.
Well,
talking to us bothering you. I mean, this is great.
Absolutely. If you ain't fishing, I always said you better be working, and that's what we're doing. So yeah, let's watch some fishing.
That's what I'm hearing. Here we're gonna get out on the water with Greg Hackney. Just moments ago, caught him a nice solid keeper. So we're gonna get out there and see Mr. Greg Hackney bowed up.
Greg said he was going to be in 3 foot of water or less for the most part. Kind of looks like where he cast it.
Yeah, I hadn't got to watch a lot this morning, but seems like they're not getting a lot of bites, but when they get a bite, it's a big one.
Well, you can catch them behind them other elite guys anyway. Probably have a little different gait than what they do. But, oh my gosh, I don't know why I love to beat that braid, man. Because I was so scared about catching a 10. And I was like, man, that 20-pound fluoro in them trees, you know. And I knew they would bite braid. And I'm like, it scares me. Like when I bowed up on that was down in that beaver hut, you know, I was like, I don't know.
Hold on, please.
Hold on, please. That's it. That's good because I didn't know how many fish were in the ditch itself. I got bit way on back in there, so. I was disappointed when we rounded that corner and there were boats everywhere. I was like, yeah, Lee. Just because of the way the morning was progressing. I was like, and then I just gotten wet. And I was like, golly, come on, dude. Well, I pretty jacked up the rest of it, but we'll just keep fishing. Yeah.
Bill, we are watching Greg Hackney do exactly what Greg Hackney does. And I got to ask you right off the jump, because I think one of my favorite videos I've ever seen on YouTube was Greg Hackney from the Conroe Classic having that same internal battle with braid versus fluorocarbon. So for you, obviously a well-known flipper yourself, how often do you have to juggle that, or is it exclusively fluorocarbon until you get to, you know, that super heavy cover?
You know, my determination is always going to be, you know, obviously what type of structure we're fishing. And if I'm punching mats or fishing grass or maybe swimming a jig or throwing a frog, that's when I'm going to reach for braid, you know. I love that Tactex braid from Seagar. But if I'm just going down the bank, flipping, pitching, not necessarily extremely heavy cover, I'm going with 22-pound Tatsu fluorocarbon all the time, whether I'm flipping docks, whatever that may be. I just truly feel like you're going to generate more bites with fluorocarbon than you are braid. But like I said, when the situation arises, I'm definitely going to reach for braid.
Seems like I remember you doing that here recently, not too long ago. Big win, huh?
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun, you know, fishing both styles, you know, using braid with a swim jig, 22-pound Tatsu flipping. And, yeah, typically for me, like I said, that's kind of the way I look at what line I'm going to choose.
So obviously you started off the year great at St. John's, and what does that do for you as an angler moving forward for the rest of the year? Does that open you up a little bit and kind of get monkey off the back and let you be a little bit more free, or?
Well, you know, the last time I won at Pickwick, I kind of felt like that opened me up and made me free, and I lost some of my consistency, you know what I mean? So Getting a win starting out the year is definitely truly amazing. I went into this year saying I am going to fish my style, fish the way Bill Owen fishes, and it's worked out. So I'm going to go back to the old Bill Owen style and cash checks and make classics and get a win along the way, and that's what we're going to do. But the confidence is through the roof right now, that's for sure.
Back out on the water with Greg Hackney, having a big time out there, you can tell. 2021, big year for you. Obviously, that win at Pickwick, but obviously fished the Classic here at Lake Ray Roberts. Give us a breakdown of the lake. Obviously, the lake is vastly different now compared to what it was then. Completely different time of the year, high water versus low water. Just give us a general rundown of the cover, what anglers and fans can expect to see here at Lake Ray Roberts.
So what you can basically look at, the lake is what I'm going to say, it's two different lakes. The east side and the west side are totally different. One side is completely full of standing timber and a lot of milfoil and things like that. The other side is what I'm going to call your traditional Highland, Texas-y type reservoir where it's a lot of rock and some wood. So it's really, in all actuality, two different lakes. We've seen a lot of guys this morning fishing that traditional pre-spawn type pattern, fishing drains, fishing the last deep channel swings in the back of pockets where we know these fish are going to spawn. The lake is a target-rich environment, as we see here, Greg Hackney pitching and flipping, doing what he loves to do. But he's concentrating on those fish that are staging to come in there to spawn. And I think, like I said, we're going to see a lot of guys doing that. So what the fans can expect to see is a lot of flipping, pitching, guys fishing in drains, chatterbaits, forward-facing sonar, things like that. Like I said, it looks like they're not getting a lot of bites, but when they get a bite, it's them big bites. And look, at the Classic, that's what it's all about. It's not about catching the limit at the Classic. It's about catching 5-pounders and winning, and that's what we're going to see the guys do this week.
So we've heard since 2021, obviously, I think there's more weeds on that east side of the lake than there used to be, too. How does that change things for those anglers that are highly concentrated on that east side of the lake?
It definitely changed the dynamics of the lake. In the past, them fish only had rock or wood to get on. Now, we all know as bass fishermen, any lake that has grass in it it makes the fish population pop, makes the fishing always better. Makes the spawn, it makes the survival rate of the spawn even a lot more better. So the grass is what it does to the lake. Like I said, it changes the dynamics. So instead of just having wood to fish, now we got fish on grass lines, fish on grass mats, ditch lines, and things like that. So kind of opens the lake up to a new area that maybe if it didn't have the grass in, everybody would be confined to one area. So I love a lake that's got grass in it, and it just always seems to me like lakes that have grass in it are a lot more healthier than lakes that don't.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you mentioned the spawn there. Obviously, coming into this tournament, towards the tail end of March, North Texas, a lot of the hype and chatter was going to be that, some of the fish were going to be on beds. We're seeing Greg Hackney obviously way, way back in the back of something here. If you had to guess, are these still just late pre-spawners, or are these fish that he's not necessarily visibly seeing, but they could be spawning back there, right?
I'd say we could have a few fish that are spawning, but we've just had one of those weird springs where it seems like it'll get warm for a couple days, then we'll have big major cold fronts come in, big high winds, and big high winds, especially out of the north in the springtime, they just keep that water temperature cooled down. It keeps the water rolling over, and that's what we've seen here this week. I mean, the guys have been faced with 40-mile-an-hour winds every single day. I think they're faced with that today. So Greg may be having a little bit of spawning action. We definitely know that there's fish that are wanting to come in and spawn. And it's going to be as soon as the weather gets stable, as soon as that water temperature gets right, I think you'll see a big flood of fish come in to spawn. We did the Pro-Am at Eagle Mountain Lake, and the water temperature over there was still, in the mid-50s. You know what I mean? So we're right on that verge where it could happen this week. You could see a big, huge flood of fish come up and get shallow.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you think in the next 3 days we could see some of these fish that these guys found during practice really start to move up with the big change that we're going to see over the weekend?
I think absolutely. And, I believe the wind has switched and has starting to come out of the south now, where it's been coming out of the north. And just to me and my experience, and when them north winds are blowing in the spring, it just kind of pushes them back or holds them back. And then when we get 2 or 3 days of that consistent south wind, it's like it flips a light switch and makes magic happen. And I think, honestly, we could see that happen, especially this week. And what better place than the Bassmaster Classic to see that happen?
Bill, you've really, honestly made your career out of being adaptable and being able to adapt on the water, on the fly, especially in these springtime tournaments. how critical is that? Because things can change by the hour, not even just by the day, right?
Absolutely. You know, and I can't stress this enough, especially to the people watching, the fans, the viewers. Every single bite you get is a piece of the puzzle. And if you just miss one little piece, one little clue, you know, how you was working that jig, or was you hopping it, was you dragging it, was it 2 foot deep, was it 3 foot deep? Every single bite's a piece of the puzzle. And if you miss it, especially in the springtime, this time of the year when things are changing so fast, can make the difference in you catching 25 pounds or catching 5 pounds. So I just can't stress how important it is to pay attention to every single bite you get.
How do you balance that, though? Because you have to be adaptable, and conditions are changing out there. But at the same point, I mean, you're in a tournament here where one swing of that rod, you know that 8, 9, 10 is there, and you found it. How do you balance that of, like, not moving on too fast?
Well, you know, that whole balance to me comes with experience on the water and just putting yourself in so many different situations and learning so many different techniques and tactics and, you know, bait presentations and things like that, that there is that fine balance. But to me, it all boils down to time on the water. And, you know, when you get in that situation that you know you've been in before, to remember that and be able to apply that to the situation that you're faced with in front of you. But like I said, just to pay attention to every single thing that's going on and every single bite you get, and being very observant to your surroundings. And you know what I mean? It's just it's huge to be able to adapt to that on the fly, which that's hard, and a lot of guys struggle with that, you know what I mean, because they get locked into one thing and they run with it all day. But if you just pay attention to what's going on around you and pay attention to what you're doing when you get a bite, definitely going to help you in the long run.
Out on the water right now with previous Bass Pro Shops Bassmaster Classic champion Justin Hamner. Obviously doing something a little bit different than Greg Hackney, and by that I mean completely different. Out there looks like in deeper water using his electronics, something that Justin Hamner's clearly excelled at over the course of his career. Just saw him catch a 5+ pounder just moments ago on live. He has 3 fish right now for 10 pounds. And Bill, that's something that a lot of the guys have talked about, is that the quality over quantity is going to be the deal. You know, you can have a great bag even with 4 fish. Was that the case in 21, or was there more bites to be had? Because it seemed like I remember there being, you know, that early shad spawn. There was a lot of things going on that you could get bites on.
Yeah, you know, I think of the shad spawn that time of the year caught everybody off guard,
No
you know,
doubt.
because we wasn't expecting that to be happening. You know, this tournament, I feel like coming into this, we almost kind of felt like it was going to be maybe dominated by forward-facing sonar. And I think what's maybe kind of held this back a little bit has been the weather. You know, there's no way the guys have been able to get out there and do what they needed to do in practice. Obviously, we see Justin's kind of in a protected area, but I felt like in my heart that this was going to be an event, you know, fish that were staging up in drains, getting ready to come into spawn, that the guys that were proficient with forward-facing sonar were just going to knock the socks off of them. And we've seen some guys this morning do that. I believe Trey McKenna's caught quite a good bag using forward-facing sonar. But, you know, like I said earlier, this is an event where it ain't about catching 25 or 30 fish today. It's about catching the right caliber of fish. And the thing that's going to separate the guys that are fishing forward-facing sonar versus the guys that are going down the bank like a Greg Hackney is that we're going fishing trying to get a bite. These guys that are fishing forward-facing sonar can actually say, oh, yeah, that's a big one, I'm going to target that one, versus we don't know what we're fishing for. When you can throw at you're throwing at a 5 or 6 pounder, that changes the game.
No question.
How much does it change it, though, when you do lose that, couple days of practice? Because forward-facing sonar and that whole thing is all about efficiency. And you've lost the practice time to be able to actually find those fish. And usually during the tournament, now you're just zeroing in on kind of what you've already found. They're kind of going into a lot of these places blind, I would assume, for the first time.
Well, here's what I know about the guys that are so good with that. And we'll just use Justin, for example. He has so much confidence in what he's doing and that piece of equipment that he has on the front of his boat that he can pull into a pocket, trolling motor on high, and buzz around there, and maybe in 5 or 10 minutes find some fish in an area that he never even got to drop the trolling motor in practice. That's what I notice about the guys that are so good with that. They have the confidence, just like me, to pull into a mud flat and catch one. They can pull out in the middle of the lake, scan around, and find exactly what they're looking for. And that's what separates the men from the boys right there. Yeah.
Bill, absolutely fantastic stuff. We're going to keep you around for another segment,
Absolutely.
if you don't mind.
Yes.
We've got so much to cover. We've went over a lot already, but we're going to head to a break here on Bassmaster Livecast, and we will be right back in just moments.
There's a big one in the reeds ahead. I know it. He doesn't care who I am, what titles I have, how many blue trophies I got, that I've fished since I could walk, or that I've spent countless hours on the water for this moment. It's me versus the fish, and I like to win.
We're off the clock to clock more fish, to fill our live wells and empty our coolers, because there's more to explore. The latest Humminbird fish finders work fast, see clearly, and know all the best spots. They fish even smarter paired with the Minn Kota and break down the water like never before. If you like your plans loose and lines tight, then it's time to explore. Only with Humminbird.
Hey friends, something new from Seaguar. It's a new leader material called Pounce. And the great thing about this compared to like a monofilament leader is, number one, it's gonna sink faster, okay? Number two, basically, it's completely invisible. It's 100% fluorocarbon used with the resins from Seaguar. And the best thing about Pounce, it will not break the bank. If you wanna hook up with the biggest bass of the year and land it, Pounce is for you. Go to seaguar.com for more information.
As a professional fisherman, every decision I make is to win.
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 The boat I drive,
baits I throw,
the gear I wear.
I do it to win.
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 Because when I'm on the water, I want to be the best.
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 That's why.
And that's why.
And that's why.
And that's why
we wear the best.
Forged from the harshest environments, Dakota lithium batteries are built to endure. Engineered with lithium iron phosphate, they give you twice the runtime, at half the weight, last 5 times longer, and provide exceptional lifetime value.
Let's go!
Backed by an 11-year warranty, they keep you on the water from sunup to sundown. Go further. Last longer. Play harder.
There we go.
Right there. Still series jerk minnow right there. Oh my gosh, this is it. That's perfect. It's a giant bass!
Welcome back. Bassmaster live cast here inside the Expo at the 2025 Bass Pro Shops Bassmaster Classic presented by Under Armour. Plenty of trees, plenty of bass this morning, a lot of action going on. Just a beautiful setting there, and you know, maybe not on the main lake. We know that wind's going to pick up today at some point. We just heard Greg Hackney say just moments ago that driving to his spot he got wet. That seems to be a common theme even at the Pro-Am, like you talked about.
Cool.
The high winds have been evident. How hard is that to navigate, you know, when you're trying to be efficient with your time and knowing that running to places is just going to take you vastly longer?
Well, you know that old saying, everything's bigger in Texas. Well, the waves have definitely been that all week. And, you know, you take a lake like Ray Roberts that's full of standing timber and stumps, and when you got to run in them big waves, you know, typically there's a better way to run through the waves. But when you're running through that timber and maybe have to stay in a boat lane, you don't have an option. So it makes it tough on the guys where a 5-minute run may turn into a 15-minute run. So they're going to have to take that into consideration, especially when it's time to go back to weigh-in.
Well, and it would be different if they had practice to perfect those boat lanes and figure out where they need to go.
Yeah.
They didn't get a chance to do that at all. I'm assuming the service yards are going to have a little bit of work this week.
Yeah, I mean, we saw guys posting videos of 4-footers. We saw guys posting videos of filling their boats up, trying to get them back on the trailer. So my hat's off to the guys because, you know, even though I'd love to be out there, part of me's kind of enjoying being in here. You know?
The wind is not blowing in here so far.
Exactly.
Back out on the water right now with Jordan Lee, another former Bassmaster Classic champion, 2-time Bassmaster Classic champion. And Steve Bowman brought up an interesting point there in the halftime show that every Classic winner that has won in Texas has at least 2 wins. So this week, are we going to see somebody like a Justin Hamner, a Jeff Gustafson, somebody win their second? Is that trend going to continue, or are the odds just against it?
It's hard to say. I mean, it is so hard to say. And the Bassmaster Classic is the toughest event that I've ever fished, just because, like I said, you're not going to fish for a limit. You're going to win. You see guys that typically never zero in a Bassmaster Classic because they're trying to win. They're trying to make magic happen. The Classic is such a whirlwind. Heck, I don't even remember my first Bassmaster Classic that I fished in, but it's hard to say what's going to happen. You know, I mean, heck, we could see someone that's never won a Classic or won an Elite or anything potentially win today.
Absolutely. The Bassmaster Classic is so unpredictable. And speaking of unpredictable, for the love of God, we've got Matt Robertson,
the one,
on
the only.
the show.
That's right.
The one and only good-looking guy in the Elite Series. I mean, I know Bill's kind of good-looking, but God Almighty, he ain't as good-looking as I am. So, listen, I'll be honest with y'all. I've been busy working Expo. Y'all are going to have to fill me in on kind of what's going down here. I saw Zaldain catch a nice one earlier. I saw Corey Johnson catch one. So
let me give you a little update here, okay? On Bass Track, we got Trey McKenna in first, 26 even. Second place, Easton Fothergill with 23.4. Wes Logan only with 4 fish right now with 20 pounds, 5 ounces. Corey Johnson, like you just mentioned, 19 pounds. And then Hunter Shryock with 18.5. Definitely more catches, I think, than maybe we were expecting. You know, you hear guys talk about the quality over quantity, big baits, big things. But we're seeing a lot of catches so far, so that's something that, I think early on maybe we didn't expect. But I've been meaning to ask you, Bill, this, and I'll ask you as well, Matt. Typically in these pre-spawn, earlier in the year tournaments, obviously still cold water, a lot of times that afternoon bite can really be the deal once the water warms up. Do you think that's a possibility here this week at the Classic?
I think it could absolutely be the possible. I don't even want to say it's a possibility. I'm about sure that it's going to happen, especially since, the winds have switched out of the south. Things are starting to get stable again. Yeah, the wind's still blowing, but it's spring, and that's the time every big fish in the lake wants to come up and get shallow, and I think for sure you're going to see it happen.
Yeah, I agree with Bill. I think even this time of year you always see that early morning bite, first hour or so. But, dude, in the afternoon, in the spring, like them fish definitely move up there and they're ready to eat. And, dude, I got to say, whenever they called and asked me who I thought was going to win the Classic, half a dozen people or so, Trey McKenna is one of them, dude. Like, he was on fire last year, had the momentum, had some momentum coming into this one. And, I mean, look at him. The boy's sitting there, 26 pounds. I mean.
Which is probably 30.
Yeah, like, yeah.
It's probably 30.
I don't know if he's weighed any. If he hasn't weighed any, then it is 30 pounds, 100%. But yeah, dude, the guys are catching them. They're catching big ones. Wes Logan just needs one more big one, dude, and hammer down.
Matt, I got to ask you this because you're obviously well known as a big bait guy. That's something that we expect to play here. Chris Zaldain, Ben Milliken, a lot of those guys have been very open and upfront that that's going to be their deal and that's what they're going to do. I got to ask you, though. So you know that you're going for the big ones. You're not looking for numbers of bites. How hard is that once you get to this point in the day, nearing 1 o'clock, and you don't necessarily have the numbers that you're looking for? How hard is it to push through and keep doing that, knowing that you're not getting many bites?
So here's the thing. Whenever you talk about guys like Chris Zaldain and Ben Milliken, and I'll throw myself into the big bait category. Whenever you have guys who that's what they like to do and that's their forte, it's not hard at all. Like, you go into Texas to a Texas Classic and you're catching big ones, you know it's going to take 25 to 30 pounds. And listen, 1 o'clock, if I didn't have nothing, I'd still be chucking it because, listen, if you catch 3 fish, it's going to weigh more than another person's 5. So it's not really that big of a problem. Now, if you had a guy who, no offense, Bill, we know you're a jig flipper and everything, but like if it wasn't somebody's forte, I think they'd have trouble staying with it. But your swim baiters, Zaldain, they're not going to have a problem doing it.
Out on the water right now with Chris Zaldain. Looks like he's slow winding. I guess we'll see here in just a moment, but could be a swim bait bite. Earlier in the morning, I think it was surprising. We saw him throwing a big swim bait. Certainly looks like it there, but he caught one of his better fish on a jig, fishing similar spot. Kind of a secondary point, something shallow. This is something we didn't get to see at all in the previous Classic built because the water was up all the way in the trees.
Absolutely.
So certainly a different look than what we're used to. Did you ever come pre-practice, Ray Roberts, beforehand and see it in this stage or somewhere similar?
Yeah, so I came before the last one, and actually drove up on a piece of timber that had a piece of rebar or a prop blade or something in it and cut a hole in the bottom of my boat and the bottom of my Express. So I had to leave from here and go to Express so they could repair it. But I did come and look at it, you know, but like you said, it's a total different looking lake now because it was 4 foot higher than it is now. So it's really kind of cool to see, for me, some of this structure and the way these points and stuff lay out that I never got to see in the past.
I believe we're going to get to hear Chris talk about his bait selection, obviously throwing a big swim bait there. And, Matt, one thing I want to get to with you is, like, you know, big baits just get lumped into a category, but really you can split it up into multiple categories, especially when it comes to glide baits versus, you know, like a paddle tail bigger swim bait like that. When do you know to go from one to the other?
So, like, I would actually pick Chris or somebody or Milliken to go with the soft swim bait. In the pre-spawn, colder water, I would go for the big paddle tail, and you'll see Chris throwing like your mag draft style. I know he's got a new big gizzard shad style swim bait out, but if they're throwing a glide, he's going to be throwing a tight moving one.
I need 25 today to hang.
More of a post-spawn deal for those wide glide.
Yeah.
Way to do it with the swimmer.
Let's hear what Chris said.
Yeah, I thought I'd get, you know, a couple big ones by now. I'm just fishing a bunch of sneaky, you know, hard spots, rock piles, pond dams, foundations, and I'm not even through like probably about a fifth of them or so. I still have a bunch of them on the other side of the lake. And if it wasn't blowing, I'd probably be done with 3/4 of them. But I've only fished maybe a quarter of them. So we're gonna keep working our way that way, and the further we go east, the better that swim bait bite gets. I did catch a 6-pounder like right through here. Channel swings, standing timber, rocks. Rocks are huge here.
Yeah, so on these big swim baits in the cooler water like this, you know, pre-spawn going into the spawn, you could consider it, you know, you want something that's going to thump like that Colorado blade spinnerbait. Same thing with spinnerbait versus a willow leaf spinnerbait. Same, you can convert that into the swim bait fishing. You want a bigger paddle tail swim bait, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, I'll ask you this because I got to talk to Chris a few times before practice, and one thing he, you know, really emphasized was the fact that during practice he was going to stay off of basically everything that he planned on fishing during the tournament. You just got off of an open, you know, at your home lake at Kentucky Lake. How imperative is that to do to not, you know, overextend your practice into the areas that you think you're going to fish in the tournament, especially on your home body of water?
Yeah, you know, it's pretty important. You got to leave something. You got to leave some type of hope. Like, you can't go out there and check every single spot. I know that sounds crazy. I know a lot of guys on their home pond will go check everything, but a lot of my best stuff I'll leave for the tournament, especially this time of year. He knows where they live here. I'm going to leave it alone. I know I'm going to run it, and I'm going to take my chances. Like, I don't want to go there and accidentally hook anything.
Bill, I would ask you the same question, but it seems like we're never going to go to your home body of water.
Never going to happen, but it doesn't matter. You know, home water, you know, like Matt said, you want to stay off your best stuff. Obviously, maybe just because you don't want to get caught on it by somebody. Yep. But on your home water, all you got to do is get a couple bites to say, this is what they're on, and you know where all that stuff is. Like you said, it'd be no different if we came to the Ohio River. Honestly, if we came to the Ohio River, I probably wouldn't even practice just because get a couple bites, you know what to run, seasonal pattern, time of the year. So you may be better off to stay off the water just so guys don't get to see it. And like Chris said, he's got, you know, he's only fished a quarter of his stuff so far. I mean, a guy like Chris that has places like that, he can run, throw that big swim bait, and get a big bite. Could be very dangerous.
Bill, we are nearing a break, so I'm going to put you on the spot right before we hit it. Who is going to win the 2025 Bassmaster Classic?
Oh, I'm going to go with, let's go with Wes Logan.
Wes Logan it is. Bill, we enjoyed it so much. Appreciate you for stopping by. Matt, I believe you're going to hang around for a little bit longer from what I hear. We appreciate both of you guys for being here, and we appreciate everybody for tuning in here at Bassmaster Livecast on YouTube, and we will be right back from a break.
Good morning, commuters. Looks like we got traffic backed up for miles. Starting with a downed tree blocking East Avenue and a broken water main causing a bottleneck on the westbound lanes. We've got weekend travelers flooding the turnpike, meaning it's bumper-to-bumper traffic for the foreseeable future. I'd get comfortable. You might be there for a while.
Toyota Trucks. Let's go places.
So we're not all professional anglers. We don't all compete on the biggest stage. But inside us all burns the same fire to be a champion. It's why you get out early, brave the toughest conditions, point the bow toward adventure and put the hammer down. For whatever trophy or fish or memory you're chasing, count on a Mercury Pro XS outboard, engineered to deliver the speed and reliability you need to power the champion inside you.
Line.
Our SV spool design is made with one thing in mind: casting control. Whether it is casting lightweight baits, skipping, pitching, or casting into the wind, the Tatula SV reels virtually eliminate backlashes when set properly. Now with our groundbreaking technology and innovations, backlashes can be a thing of the past.
Discover the hidden gems and pristine waters of Tennessee's B.A.S. signature lakes. Conveniently located throughout Tennessee, there's a signature lake near you, covering all regions of the volunteer state, all endorsed by the legendary Bill Dance himself. Whether it's a weekend getaway or an extended vacation, create timeless memories at Tennessee's Bill Dance signature lakes. Plan your trip today.
Robertson for another segment. Sure to be a good time. Always a good time when Matt Robertson joins this set here at the Bassmaster Classic here at Lake Ray Roberts, the 2025 Bass Pro Shops Bassmaster Classic presented by Under Armour. The Expo is popping out here, gentlemen. I mean, there are people walking around everywhere. I'm a little surprised nobody has stopped what we're doing here to come talk to you, because before we jumped on, it was like every person in the entire building was talking to you. So maybe people shielding you off a little bit here.
Yeah, you know, we had a little bit of a line. It is popping. There's all kinds of people here. If y'all are down here anywhere near Fort Worth, come down. I get a little distracted. They was doing the countdown to come on here, and I started daydreaming, thinking Elon Musk fixing to launch a rocket ship into space here. But yeah, we're here on Bass Live, kicking it off and getting this thing launching, and yeah, big things happening.
Absolutely, big things happening out on the water here at the Expo. Fort Worth, such a great host city for the Bassmaster Classic. So glad to be back here. Andrew, what are we expecting here? I mean, we got an afternoon full of excitement. What are we predicting here?
This is going to be awesome because it just should get better as the afternoon goes on. Those fish will pull closer to a lot of that cover, I think the guys have found. And this is not one of those deals where it's like, all right, sun up to, the first 2-3 hours, everybody makes their hay, and then it's done. It's going to be the polar opposite. So I think we're in for a big afternoon. Again, I think all of those kind of bold predictions from early on about big fish, about big bags, some of those records that could be broken, those are just still definitely in play going into the afternoon. afternoon.
Absolutely. Out on the water right now with Taku Ito, who is not throwing a big swim bait, unless he's throwing it on a spinning rod, which I doubt. But out on the water nonetheless, and we saw Taku catch a great big one early this morning, something that he didn't expect, because he was very honest that his practice was not very good, was not super thrilled about what he found. So that big fish early in the morning, that can jolt you confidence-wise to propel you for the rest of the tournament, right, Matt?
Yeah, even after you've had a rough practice, you go out there, you catch a big one, and Taku's a lot of time, I've seen him a lot of finesse fishing. It doesn't matter who it is or what you're doing, you get 1 or 2 big bites, and it's really gonna propel you, and that's all you need is that little bit of momentum in the morning, and man, daggum Taku can catch them.
Absolutely, no matter where we're at. That's the thing is, when he first came onto the Elite Series, he gets a big win at the St. Lawrence River, excels, like you said, when finesse fishing, and early on in his career said that he did not like big largemouth. But it seems like he catches big largemouth every time we go to somewhere like Ray Roberts, Fork. I mean, you name it, he finds a way to manage his style into catching, those giant fish.
Yeah, I remember him last year at Lake Fork catching great big ones, dude. Like, he don't like big largemouth. He should love them. He loves the smallmouth, but dude, Taku catches them everywhere. And listen, I seen him shaking his rod. I don't know if he was throwing a drop shot or a minnow, but don't sleep on him. Taku's got some sneaky stuff. I seen him throwing a jig head with a wacky rigged worm on it one time this time here at Seminole. I caught him on that. I was like, Taku, I know, like, because I had to borrow some scissors and pliers because I threw mine in the water. So I had to ease over. Taku, let me borrow some scissors, and he waved me over. So yeah, I caught him on that one. So he might be throwing that jig head and a little worm. I'm not for sure.
Well, he's a great example too of just knowing what your strength is and sticking with it. Adapting when he needs to adapt, but I think early on he was one of those guys that you saw still at a fishery like this would be a little bit more offshore than everybody else was, and it didn't shake out really at the very beginning, but he's kind of learned how these largemouth fisheries go, and he's been able to make his hay out of what he's good at. And yes, he can still go shallow with a bait caster and do whatever he needs to do, but you're watching him right here. I mean, he's figured out how to adapt his smallmouth way of fisheries to largemouth.
And it's one thing to be said, too. I mean, you can speak to this way more than I can, or either of us can, but Taku has gone so far out of his way to fish with as many different people as he can to try to get different styles. Like, I know he's fished with Jordan Lee, he's fished with a ton of different guys to try to, diversify, if you will, his techniques. Has he ever dug in your back pocket for a little swim bait advice?
No, I seen him flipping hydrilla with Jordan Lee and stuff, and I seen him at Nickajack doing a little something. But no, he's never hit me up. He might have to do a little more. I like Taku, love him to death, but he may need to do some bicep curls to sling in big baits a little bit. That may be why he don't throw them a whole lot. But man, he ain't got no problem slinging them little baits around. And I like Taku, and Jordan Lee ain't no big fella either. Like, if they flip one out of hydrilla, it might take them both to pull it out. That may be why they're going together.
We saw Taku obviously struggle with holding the trophy, his first win. That was something that I think we'll all remember. Was very nervous about holding it over his head, but he got it up there with a little bit of help of Dave Mercer. But enough with this finesse fishing talk. Let's get back to some swim bait talk.
Let's get back to
it. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you some swim bait questions, not even for the viewers, but for myself, because I want to know.
Yeah.
When it comes to, that Berkeley Cole shadow bait that you throw a lot this time of year, I just want you to run down your setup. I mean, there's so many different varying opinions, rod sizes, length, line weight, to get it down, gear ratio. There's a lot that goes into that. It's not just as simple as chunking, winding a chatterbait down the bank.
Yeah, so, like swim bait rod, we're going to, like you're talking soft swim baits, big soft swim baits and glide baits. Listen, I'm going to go a 7.6, medium, heavy. I don't want something too stiff. I go with the medium. A lot of people want to go to the heavy just because they're talking about slinging heavy baits. Right. But I like something that's more fancy. People like to say it's parabolic. I'm old school. I like to say it's moderate. That means the rod bends throughout the rod, kind of like a cranking stick. But what that enables is, like, them fish will inhale that bait, and you're throwing treble hooks. You don't want to rip treble hooks, even though they're big ones. And throwing 7.6, medium heavy, ugly stick carbon catfish rod. Some guys like the 8-footers, but just as long as it's got a long handle. I like 25-pound test fluorocarbon, and I don't like a fast gear ratio because I like to throw a bigger reel, like a 300 or 400 series reel. I throw Abu Garcia Revo Toro, but whenever you get those bigger reels, it's a bigger line diameter. And if you have a 7-gear ratio reel, it's going to take up way too much line. So you actually want to back it down to a 5.5 or a 6-gear ratio. So it's just the right cadence, even glide baiting. You don't want to be reeling too fast. You don't want to take up too much slack. So, but yeah, that's kind of the setup, 25-pound fluorocarbon. And, dude, swim baits, a whole category on their own. They're like crankbaits. They're like spinner baits, like the coal shad. So many things affect a swim bait, especially the way it's made, like the body, the shape of the body, the depth of it. If you got some little wings off of it, like fins, like on other swim baits, the size of the paddle tail, like I would consider the coal shad. It's got some body wobble. Like if it were a crankbait, I would consider it like a big square bill. You know what I mean? It's got a little body wobble, a hard thump to it. The difference between a square bill and a Colorado bladed spinnerbait.
And it's interesting you say that about the rod. I want to go back to that because, you know, for somebody that's not thrown that style of swim bait, like a harness style swim bait, a lot of times when you get those bites, like they'll push it forward almost like a spinner bait. So that's another reason, I assume, you know, you would want that more moderate bend because, you know, if you jerk away too hard, I mean, that's bad deal.
Oh, yeah, real bad deal. Like they're coming up behind that thing. Before live scope, I was throwing big swim baits and I'd crack them. But now that I've been able to watch them on live scope, like I watch them, like I didn't realize how far away I need to be because they'll follow this thing 20, 30 feet. And you'll see them, you're reeling it, and they just get closer. And whenever they decide to go, like it's like a cheetah launching out of the bushes, boys. Like they're coming, you ain't stopping it. Maybe a line, I don't know, but it's going to crush it. It ain't going to miss it. And yeah, they'll knock some slack in your line, and that's definitely why you want that rod.
Absolutely.
So you said 25-pound fluoro. Will you ever back that down to try and go a little deeper with those coal shads?
The only time I'll back it down is whenever I'm going to like a little smaller swim bait, like a 6-inch coal shad. Then I'm going 20-pound test. I'm not going under 20-pound test. Like, listen, these fish are not looking at line size. You don't want to break them off. These guys are throwing around big trees in Lake Fork. Like, you want to eliminate all variables, and you want to be able to crack them as hard as you can and winch them, and you want all the power you can get from the reel handle all the way to the hook.
So what you're saying is you're not in it for a show. You're there to teach them a lesson.
Yeah, we're gonna gotta be careful not get in trouble here. Yeah, we're gonna teach them a lesson. We're gonna give them a paddling in school like the old days.
Out on the water with Justin Hamner. A lot of talk about fishing your strengths. Looks like he's been throwing a jerkbait as we've been watching him. Certainly seems to be in an area that the wind has picked up. Speaking of wind, you just came off of a tournament there at Kentucky Lake like we talked about. The last day got a little sporty. How much does that change the dynamic of this tournament, do you think, as far as not being able to navigate around as easily as you might be able to under, better conditions?
Yeah, Zaldain said he's only fished probably a quarter of what he's got. And that kind of happened to me at Kentucky Lake. Listen, that wind, especially down here in Texas, we was on Eagle Mountain Lake for the Celebrity Pro-Am. And, dude, there's a lot, like the water isn't super high and that wind's blowing, it's silting up the water, and that affects a lot of your areas. And just getting around, you can't just hop here and there, hit all your stuff. So, like, it's really, really affecting the guys. I think it's probably really affecting the weights.
Yeah.
And obviously a fishery that can fish small at times too, and then the wind is making that feel even smaller. So that's another wrinkle. How do you manage that as like areas that you feel like you found that you want to hit and you've prioritized them and you figured it out, and then you come around the corner of a cove and you're like, oh, there's 4 people already here.
Yeah, you either got to put your blinders on like in a horse race, put your blinders on, get in there and go, pretend like they're not there. That's the only way you get past that. That's the only way you catch fish in that situation. And knowing you can outfish that other person. So, and then you just brave it, hit the other side of the lake and fish in the waves and take them over the boat.
For an event like this where those fish are so concentrated on like a small piece of cover or something versus, a tournament where you're going down a big bank line where you are taking up a lot of space, does it make it easier to share water?
It doesn't really make it easier to share water. If you're going down and you're fishing isolated stuff like that, like The only thing that'll happen is it'll get to where you feel like you're wasting a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like you just don't have that confidence because you know across the lake or here or there, okay, I'm going to throw on this little rock pile, I'm going to get bit. But I know that it's a lot of plain bank and not a lot left of the next spot, and that's the only thing you get into wasting a lot of time like that.
Matt, I hope you can stick around for one more segment. This has been an absolute blast here on Bassmaster Livecast here at the 2025 Bass Pro Shops Bassmaster Classic presented by Under Armour, beautiful Lake Ray Roberts. We will be right back from a break.
The best of the best just got better. Clear images, sharper resolution, improved target separation. That's right, better. LiveScope Plus, only from Garmin.
Got your eye on a new Yamaha outboard? Then get to your dealer now for the New Year, New Reliability Sales Event. For a limited time, purchase a new Yamaha 30 to 450 horsepower outboard and get up to 7 years of Yamaha coverage protection free. Or earn up to $200 in dealer credit on eligible 2.5 to 25 horsepower models. With amazing offers like these, Yamaha's New Year, New Reliability Sales Event has never been a better value.
They are always by your side. They are your constant companions and love unconditionally. They deserve a lifetime of adventure. Black Gold Explorer is made for the ones who love the great outdoors and who love to experience it with their best friend. With recipes to support a healthy coat, immunity, and mobility, your dog will have all they need to go farther. Because fresh air, hard work, and adventure are all worth sharing. Black Gold Explorer. Unleash adventure.
The newest addition to the Flashpoint line, the deep version. Having a jerkbait that gets down to that 10 to 12 foot range is a must. The reason I'm grabbing or picking up the Flashpoint is because of that blade right there. It does two things. It provides flash, the most important thing. It's a different Flashpoint under the water that the fish haven't seen. It's a small, unique profile that mimics a small bait fish. The deep will get you down to that 10 to 12 foot range and reach those deeper suspended fish.
It's the moment when everything is on the line and precision, power, and control make all the difference. A moment over 20 years in the making, anchored on loyalty, trust, and support that goes beyond all expectations. A relentless pursuit of perfection. All born from a revolutionary idea to help you rule the water. Power Pole.
That is a tugboat. That is a tugboat. That's a big tugboat. What a nice fish.
Welcome back to Bassmaster Livecast here at the 2025 Bass Pro Shops Bassmaster Classic presented by Under Armour. We are here inside the Expo right now. Things are popping. Folks are walking. Everybody's got a fishing rod in their hand, which is really starting to tick me off because I haven't got to look at any fishing rods since we got here. But Bass Track's lighting up. I mean, we're seeing some heavy weights. Trey McKenna right now with 26 pounds even leading the way, which begs the question. All week, all we've been talking about is records, records, records. Are we going to break records? The all-time record, the single fish big record, the one-day total record. Matt Robertson, let's just break it down. total weight record, 69 pounds, 11 ounces. Are we going to beat that here at the 2025 Classic?
Listen, man, I think there's no doubt that it's going to happen this week. I know it's a little skeptical. Got a few guys up around 20. Trey McKenna's got 26 pounds, and I know you got to catch that about that every day to break it. But listen, these guys, this lake is full of big ones. Like you saw big ones last time we fished here. Every lake surrounding it's got big ones. Brandon Pellinet caught a 10-4 the other day out of a lake right down the road. We're standing here. I know y'all can't see it. We're looking at Texas share lunkers, okay? You're talking about 12, 13, 14 pounders. And if you don't think the record can't be broke this week, somebody could literally catch a 13 or 14 pounder. A guy caught a 13 and a half pounder at Sam Rayburn practicing for the first open. Like, listen, it doesn't take but one of these big ones. Like Trey McKenna, you can see him weighing 30-something pounds. No problem catching one of those.
Well, let's look at the heaviest daily catch in the Bassmaster Classic. Who could forget Paul Mueller's 32.3 at Gunnersville a handful of years ago? Do we see that get broken? Because so far today it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, but still a long ways to go and a long tournament to go.
Yeah, I think if the wind calms down and these guys can get around and it doesn't eliminate half the lake, if you get a day or a half a day where these guys can run everything they want to run, like there's not many places that we go that you have that opportunity for that record to be broken, and Texas is definitely one of them.
So biggest bass, heaviest bass, single day, Bassmaster Classic history, 11-10 Preston Clark. That was at the Kissimmee Chain 2006. Do we see a bass bigger than 11-10? Now that's where it gets a little challenging.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the toughest one to break for sure. I think you're in likelihood ranking. I think you probably got the total. The 3-day total is probably the most likely. Then you've got your bag. Then you got your single fish. Not to say it can't be done. We've had 13+ pounders come out of here in March out of Lake Ray Roberts. So it's definitely happened. There might even be one over there on the truck if you actually go look at it. But yeah, I think that's just going to be the toughest one. We heard about 10s and 11s maybe practice, and we really, at least the public, we really knew about as they start to kind of leak out of what some of these guys caught. But I think it's going to be your toughest one.
Again, out on the water with Chris Johnston, looks to be flipping and pitching a little bit. Matt, I asked Bill Lowen this early on, but, in these springtime tournaments, the fish are wanting to spawn. Maybe not a giant population of fish up there doing it currently, but when you're flipping around, doing what he's doing, well, I say flipping around, he's throwing a spinning rod now. He was flipping just moments ago, but fishing extremely slow. It seems like one of the big keys is like you almost have to treat it as if you're fishing for a fish that's on bed without seeing him. Is that right?
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys are kind of blind bed fishing. You see them throwing at every little stick, anything that one of those fish could set on. But even the fish that aren't spawning, like they're up there close to spawning. Like all these fish, if we had all warm weather right now, you would see a sight fishing classic. And these fish that ain't are setting right outside. You saw it at Lake Fork last time, guys, literally 30 yards off the bank catching pre-spawners, just sitting there waiting. And that's what you see Chris Johnson here doing now.
It's one of the interesting things, talking to Kyle Patrick, before this tournament, he suggested that it was going to set up almost identical to that Fork tournament, and not in the sense of the weights and, all the things there, but in the sense of where the fish are going to be. Because, in that Fork tournament, early on, day one, there was a lot of bedfish caught. But that just didn't last throughout the course of the tournament. You had to be fishing for those fish that were, out there on those pre-spawn staging areas to really have a chance to succeed over the course of 4 days. And it's going to be interesting, I think, in this tournament to see if the guys that are fishing for the fish coming to them or they're fishing for those stagers will last over the course of just 3 days versus 4.
Yeah, Kyle Patrick, and I will have to say I didn't know Kyle going into Lake Fork last year, but knowing him now, he's one of those, he's a really good shallow scoper, and he's one of those guys who knows about them staging fish right before they spawn. I fished by him. I was fishing for spawners. I saw him 50 feet from me scoping pre-spawners, so he's one of those guys. And since we don't have that strong warming trend, it's warming up today and the next couple days, But, like, I don't know if it's enough for them all to push to the bank, so I definitely think somebody fishing for the stagers is going to get it.
Yeah, and there's just so many wrinkles that can be thrown into that. I know we heard earlier today, one of the Johnston brothers said that he had 2 or 3 fish that you could almost call pets, that all throughout practice had been there and weren't leaving, and all it takes is a couple of these days, and those fish could, and they move just enough that, again, you can't do this sort of blind bed fishing thing for them, and you lose track of those fish, and that's where you could see some derailing start for some guys, I feel like.
Yeah, no question. I mean, and you can, there's obviously signs, right? When you're fishing for fish you can't see, either pre-spawn or spawners, there's a way that those fish will bite a lot of times, bite your tails, pick it up off the bed, move it away. What are some of the indicators to you, if you're just flipping around shallow and you're getting bites that, maybe these fish are actually on beds, not just on a piece of cover?
Yeah, you'll flip in there, you'll get bit, you'll set the hook, nothing, fix your bait, flip in there again and see your line take off and still not hook them. I mean, you know the fish is on the bed whenever that's happening. You get multiple bites on a single, flipping into a single spot. And I had heard Corey Johnson was starting on a 10-pounder on bed. Now, those big females don't stay up there very long, but that's what I'd heard, is he was starting on a 10 bed fishing.
And there's got to be some truth to that, too. I mean, you hear guys talk about it a lot, the early stages of the spawn. A lot of times the biggest fish in the lake will be the first ones to spawn. Has that a case, for you a lot of times?
Yeah, you always heard that, and that's kind of an old school thing, that all the fish spawn, the big ones spawn first. But, we're in Texas. There's going to be great big ones push up first. But I think down here, you're going to have big ones all the way through each wave push up.
No matter what you're doing, there's a good chance you're going to have to catch a big one regardless.
Oh, yeah.
Especially at a place like this where, they were talking like, it feels like some of these fish are born at 4 pounds. Like they start at 4. It's harder to catch a fish under like 2.5 than it is to catch a fish over 2.5.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Out on the water right now with Chris Zaldain, back to hopefully a big swim bait. It looks like he's winding something a little slow. Looks like he's pushed off the bank, at least from what we can tell, a little bit compared to where he was at earlier, almost paralleling that secondary points. Be interesting to see what he's on right now. Certainly looking at his electronics. So, there's been a lot of talk also all week about like specific pieces of cover off the bank, whether it be a rock, whether it be, one single tree, brush. I heard Justin Atkins talk about brush yesterday. How big of a factor could that be in this tournament, based on those fish that are, just off the bank setting up on a single piece of cover?
Yeah, I know your local guys like Chris and Lee Livesey's one big ones here. Like on a lake like this, I've talked to them both about it, that you have 8 to 15 spots that are isolated spots that don't everybody know about, but these guys know about it from fishing here for years. And those isolated spots are key, man. That's like where these guys are going to win this tournament.
Do that for 4 days or 3 days rather, and going to be in a pretty good spot. But certainly getting late in the day today, Chris Zaldain has a limit just for a little bit over 12 pounds. The last I had seen, looks like 12.8 down in 15th place right now. He's got 2 2-pounders and a 1.8. That can change very, very quickly with one bite. And then if he can get 2 of those bites, he's right back up there in the mix for getting the, being up there in the top 10 for tomorrow.
Yeah, you call a 1.8 like your basic, you catch a big one. Like you're adding so much weight to your bag that 12 pounds turns into 18 or 20 with one fish.
Absolutely.
And when you have someone like Chris that can run and gun and go hit 3, 4, 5 of those spots within 15 minutes or so if he really has to, I mean, he knows what route he needs to take to maximize his time to hit enough of those spots that, again, you could see in 15, 20 minutes that changed pretty quickly.
And this time of year, man, those big females, they'll be a school on one spot. So if you see one of these guys roll up on a rock pile or a brush pile, like it wouldn't shock me to see him catch 2 or 3 big ones like that.
Well, that's what seems to be the talk of everybody was like it's all these individual fish. If you could stumble on somewhere that had 3, 4 big ones, I mean that's a blessing in this type of event where again they're just going like there's only 1 or 2 here, 1 or 2 here, 1 or 2 here. That could be very key if someone can luck into one of those type of spots.
Looks like Chris Zaldain might be dragging something again, maybe slow winding something. It's kind of hard to tell at this given moment. But Matt, I want to ask you this because everybody just assumes forward-facing sonar, it's only for jig head minnows, it's only for certain things. You mentioned earlier about the big bait game and how much it's changed with forward-facing sonar. How do you utilize that technology with throwing a big bait? Like, is it mainly to see how deep your bait's going? Like, what are all the things that, you know, are an advantage for having that technology with a big bait?
Yeah, so it's really, guys are going out there and throwing at those same fish with minnow fishing. The guys who are good with the big baits, you see them actually, they've started targeting bigger fish on live scope. Like, they'll pass up a fish that they think is a 2 or 3 pounder, and they'll just be hunting 6 to 10 pounders. And some guys, you know, go out there and hunt the real trophies, like your 10+ pounders. But you've done that, and they're taking the big baits, the glide baits, and the soft swim baits, and going out there and doing the same thing, just a magnified version of the minnow.
Yeah, how much has it helped you when you're not and you're out there fishing them blind too? Because the thing you realize is just what makes those fish turn away, what makes those fish commit. Used to be we would only see that when you got close enough to the boat to really watch and visually see if that fish would eat or not. Now on, you know, live and forward facing and stuff, you can really see 30, 40, 50, 60 feet out what that fish reacts to and doesn't react to for certain baits and certain glides and different like actions and hinges and stuff those baits have.
Yeah, you know, it really has taught us like the cadence and everything, and like a couple like little secrets, like a double twitch to get the glide bait to turn back at them to get them to bite. Whereas before, we're blind fishing it, kind of trying to get that reaction out of them 3 or 4 times throughout a cast. But now you're just able to see it, but you're also being able, like you're fishing shallow swim baiting, like sometimes a couple feet of water where you can't scope, but you're setting a touch deeper.
Right.
And where you normally would, your bait's 20 feet out there, you'd reel it in. You just keep on, you're watching it, she's coming, and you're catching a lot more in 20 foot or less from the boat by having that patience watching them follow it.
You know what that music means? It means, number one, that we're at the Bassmaster Classic, and number two, we are going to head to a break. Matt, cannot thank you enough for stopping by,
anytime,
being on live cast here with us. I hope we get to do it again this week, and folks, we will be right back here on live cast.
Y'all better pay the bill for this.
There's a big one in the reeds ahead. I know it. He doesn't care who I am, what titles I have, how many blue trophies I got, that I've fished since I could walk, or that I've spent countless hours on the water for this moment. It's me versus the fish, and I like to win.
We're off the clock to clock more fish, to fill our live wells and empty our coolers, because there's more to explore. The latest Humminbird fish finders work fast, see clearly, and know all the best spots. They fish even smarter paired with an encoder, and break down the water like never before. If you like your plans loose and lines tight, then it's time to explore. Only with Humminbird.
Hey friends, something new from Seaguar. It's a new leader material called Pounce. And the great thing about this compared to like a monofilament leader is, number one, it's gonna sink faster, okay? Number two, basically, it's completely invisible. It's 100% fluorocarbon used with the resins from Seaguar. And the best thing about Pounce, it will not break the bank. If you wanna hook up with the biggest bass of the year and land it, Pounce is for you. Go to seaguar.com for more information.
As a professional fisherman, every decision I make is to win.
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 The boat I drive,
baits I throw,
the gear I wear. I do it to win. I do it to win.
I do it to win.
I do it to win.
Because when I'm on the water, I want to be the best. I want to be the best.
I want to be the best.
I want to be the best.
That's why.
And that's why.
And that's why.
And that's why.
We wear the best.
Forged from the harshest environments, Dakota lithium batteries are built to endure. Engineered with lithium iron phosphate, they give you twice the runtime, at half the weight, last 5 times longer, and provide exceptional lifetime value.
Let's go!
Backed by an 11-year warranty, they keep you on the water from sunup to sundown. Go further. Last longer. Play harder.
There we go. Right there. Still sees jerk minnow right there. Oh my gosh, this is it. It's a giant bass!
We are here inside the Expo, and it's hard to concentrate because Joey Cifuentes is next to me fiddling around with his cowboy hat.
This thing will not work.
Well,
I can't keep it on my ears. Oh, we got it. It's a miracle. All right, I'm gonna be real still here, folks.
Don't move. Welcome in to my next two guests. We've got Joey Cifuentes, Brad Wally. Glad to have both of you guys here. I've been looking forward to this segment all day long. Usually it's a rivalry between Arkansas and Texas, but I hope we can get along all today.
Oh yeah.
We do have them. We do have them 2-1. So maybe
how
we can
about them
handle
Razorbacks last night?
Yeah, survive and advance on to round number 2. That's not what people are here for, though. They're here for the Bassmaster Classic on Ray Roberts Lake, or Lake Ray Roberts rather. So far, what have we seen? What are we thinking? What, is it living up to the hype so far from what we've seen, or do you think it's still, the best is yet to come?
I mean, for me, I think it's living up to the hype. You've got Trey that's got 26 pounds. I think I'm by no means a local here. I've only fished the lake a few times, but my opinion and kind of what I know and what I hear about the lake, it's not a lake that has just an abundance of fish. But the ones that live there, they're big ones. So, I mean, I think it's living up. I mean, you've got guys, I'm sure, 3 and 4 fish that 15, 16 pounds. I mean, that's pretty solid, average.
Yeah, and here's the deal. If you're one of those guys that's down there at the pack, there's some big fish in here, and you can get right back in this thing in a real fast hurry.
Yeah, absolutely.
No question. We've heard it all week long, quality over quantity. I mean, heck, we in third place, just 4 fish.
4 fish.
20 pounds, 5 ounces. I mean, you catch one more 5-6 pounder to go on top of that, you're looking at a guy that's going to contend every bit with, Trey McKenna and Easton Fothergill. And that's my prediction. I think that we're going to see a lot of changes even between now and the next 2 hours. I think there's going to be some massive changes because pre-spawn, cold water, those afternoon bites are a lot of times the most key for this time of the year, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And later in the day, water starts warming up, what have you, and them big fish start to bite.
They'll slide up for sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And there's grass in this lake, and it just gets better. I mean, it's guys that are power fishing that maybe have struggled a little bit this morning. I mean, they can get right literally in the last hour, because there's just too many 6 to 8, 10-pound fish in this thing. So I just really don't think anybody's out of it. You could scroll on down. I don't even know exactly. I can't really see the leaderboard towards the bottom, but I mean, you could literally have somebody weigh in 12, 14 pounds today, maybe with 3 fish. It happens here all the time. They could turn around and drop 32 and 37 and win the tournament. I mean, but that's a special place. You know what I mean? I mean, anywhere that you can turn around and know that with one swing of the bat, there's not, everywhere in the country isn't like that. And with one swing of the bat, you catch a 10-pounder, you're right back in this game. So,
Brad, you know plenty about that because you are notorious for making those giant comebacks.
I'm notorious for bombing day 1, so that's what I'm notorious for.
It'd be way worse if you were notorious for bombing day 1 and 2. At least you bounce back on day 2. We are out on the water right now with Greg Hackney.
In his wheelhouse.
I mean, I think I could watch this all day long.
Yep.
If the producer would let us, I think we'd watch Greg Hackney all day long. We'll listen in and see what he's got to say. Plenty, I'm sure.
Don't know that if I'd have caught the ones that bit me early that we'd ever come over here. I had some more places in there, like the place I caught that great big one. I just, typically when it's not going that well, I'm like, I got to get completely away from it. You know what I mean? Kind of reset. That was the reason I left. I was like, I need to get away from it. We might go back, but I was like,
he's clearing his mind, of what he's been doing. Sounds like what he's saying.
I think that's one of my favorite things about Greg Hackney is, I've talked to a lot of the camera guys that have been in the boat with him, and I've covered him on the water a handful of times. he's just constantly always talking.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's talking to somebody.
No.
There might be somebody there listening, but
Right.
he's just talking just to like
talking.
solidify
Yeah.
his thoughts. And like,
Yeah.
I just think that is just so fun to watch. And Greg Hackney, obviously, always going to be dialed in when he's doing what we're seeing here, flipping shallow cover. Brad, you mentioned this, and I want to go back because we had you. I remember this. You said this to me at Smith Lake last year, and you made the comment that normally your biggest fish in the lake, almost every time of the year, are going to live shallow. Like the ones that you have caught over the course of your life, especially here in Texas, like the biggest ones you've ever caught have always been shallow. Is that going to be the case here at Ray Roberts?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, and shallow's relative.
Sure. Doesn't have to be the bank.
No, it doesn't have to be the bank by any means. But I mean, you can take that even if, and I know Joey knows this. If you're talking about like giant schools of fish, and I mean, I live here in Texas, and I've got on mother loads of schools, 50, 100 fish. It's rare that you catch 9s and 10s. You might catch 4s to 6s, with a 7 in there, but you don't catch a lot of 9 and 10s in those big number schools. And I just believe that once a fish gets so big, it's almost like a big buck. I mean, they almost become a loner. I think they kind of get away from the pack. They're fat. They're out of shape. I mean, they can't compete
Right,
with 4-pounders, So I mean, they get out of the pack. They kind of do their own thing. They hang out on a log that's on the bank that says you don't fish. They're over there on the flat side, not where the creek channel swings up against. So I mean, and Hackney knows that. Hackney's sitting here flipping. I mean, he's a prime example. It shows he has 4 for 9.5. Hackney can swing the rod one time, catch a 6. He weighs in 15 pounds, 16 pounds. He's still in this thing because it's going to warm up. From what I'm seeing on the forecast,
Yeah.
So the nights are going to – that's the whole deal this time of year. Joey knows this. No matter where you're at in the country, it's about the nights more than it is the days.
Yep.
How long does that take? I know it varies everywhere, but, when you talk about needing those warm nights, it's a mixture of a lot of things, right? Warmer weather, warmer water, longer days, warmer nights. There's so many factors into it, but can that change literally overnight? Like, could we see a massive change from, let's say, today to tomorrow?
Yeah, I think so, especially right now and with the moon phase and, it's just that time of year, man. I mean, I think actually some of these fish would already normally be up here.
Right.
Don't you think? And we've kind of had a little bit of colder nights, but it's starting to warm up. So
yeah, it's where we're at right here in this country, or this part of the country. And I know it's probably everywhere, but we're literally got a 30-mile-an-hour wind out of the north one day, a 30-mile wind out of the south the next. I mean, it's been crazy the last couple of weeks. I would love to be in the Classic just like Joey would, but I kind of almost feel sorry for the guys to a certain extent because their practice. I mean, I think most of them are figuring it out today. I mean, they got pounded, just pounded in practice. So
and to kind of explain that further, it's interesting because the Classic itself is so unique in the sense that practice is a full week ahead of when the tournament is, and then you get the practice run through on Wednesday. But that's even worse when 2 of the days during practice you really don't get to see what you want to see.
60-mile-an-hour wind, yeah.
I mean, that makes it hard to move around anywhere, much less actually fish once you get to that spot. So certainly challenging. And like you said, I think that's a great way to put it is like whoever wins this tournament, it will essentially be in almost a practice mode in certain times of the day because you're going to have to see stuff you didn't see in practice because you just didn't get to see much.
Even most tournaments, I'm sure Joey feels the same way. Like on most tournaments, I'm not going to say all of them because it really depends on the time of the year. So many times, whether you win it or you do really well, a lot of times you could really have a bad practice. And it really develops for you. And those are usually the guys that win the tournament. It starts developing and usually around that second day. And I mean, it's a 3-day and not a 4-day event, but they start figuring it out on day 2. And that's the guys that are deadly, really.
Yeah, I've learned over the years, that open mind, like having a tough practice, and you're like, man, I gotta find something. You start getting into them right areas or finding a pattern, and it turns out to be a good one, So it's really cool.
Out on the water right now with Taku Ito, doing something a little bit different. We have not seen anything of this nature. It looks like he's fishing some marina docks. Certainly have not seen any of the anglers do this to this point. Brad, I'll ask you first. Is this surprising, or is this something you can possibly pick a few off on?
I mean, not too surprising.
He's hooked up,
obviously.
Oh,
you see those floats there? Like That's black hard plastic floats, and they're going to hold heat. They're going to
Sure.
heat up, you know. And those females can vary, and you know they should pull up under them and sun, really, you know, to get warm. They're sunning those eggs in a lot of ways. Is really what they're doing. So yeah, I could see Todd catching a giant right here. You know.
Yeah, and there's who knows. I don't know exactly where he is, but he seemed like he was kind of maybe fishing something specific there.
Right.
Maybe some stumps. There's timber in this lake a little bit, some big stumps. Like who knows what's under the water under those floats.
Sure.
There's other structure too, but man, generally speaking, big fish live around marinas.
Sure.
I mean, it is not a secret. Like they live there. There's numerous different techniques of catching them. And I just feel like the way he was sitting there pitching at that one spot. The other thing you got to worry about when you're in marina is cables. You know, Brad knows.
Yeah.
Those things are terrible. They're running all over the place. You can see them on your live scope and stuff down there. So you got to be very careful and hope you get the fish out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then when you got the wind like this, it's so challenging.
And it can damage a boat, as you can see.
Yeah,
right here.
yeah. Well, thank for the Raptors and the power poles. They protect the old motor there.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, no question. And Brad, I wanna kind of hit on that because that's something I feel like, you know, let's say an angler that doesn't get to fish boat docks too often may not realize, you know, when you're talking about a traditional dock with post and, you know, goes all the way down to the bottom, not a floating dock, essentially.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times you're fishing on the bottom, you're fishing something back to you. A lot of times on these black floats, they will sit up like almost like, you know, a foot or two down just underneath them, right? Basically to sun like they would up shallow.
I mean, they can have their fins touching the float, honestly. You know, and I mean, that's this time of year, a lot of times, you know, like a wacky worm, that's something that's very, very good around docks. But yeah, they're floating high, and it's to do a few different things. A lot of people don't think about that, but fish actually sun their eggs, if that makes sense. I mean, they do. They warm up. You know, they're just trying to warm up. That's the whole thing. It's been in the 30s at night, 30 to 40s, and so that plastic's going to heat up. Rock's going to heat up. You know, anything that's hard like that grass holds temperature. It doesn't necessarily heat up as much, but it will hold it. So you see guys punch under mat. Think of that float like a mat.
Sure.
If you're in Florida, that mat holds that heat. That float's doing the same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we just got done fishing the celebrity bass tournament on Eagle Mountain Lake, and we finished 4th out of the 22 celebrities and pros, and that's primarily what we fished. We had 40-mile-an-hour wind, so we had to get out of the weather, but we were throwing a bladed jig around those things. I mean, you could throw a spinnerbait, you can swim a jig, you can throw a wacky rig. I mean, anything. I like the bladed jig because I can skip it back there underneath them floats and stuff like that, but just a great way to catch some really big fish. And we ended up catching a 4-pounder and a 3-pounder doing that. So he's got a good chance.
Absolutely. Don't go anywhere. You guys don't go anywhere.
No.
Everybody watching at home, don't go anywhere. We will be right back here on Bassmaster Livecast. Plenty of action to get to. It's going to be a fun afternoon.
Good morning, commuters. Looks like we got traffic backed up for miles. Starting with a downed tree blocking East Avenue and a broken water main causing a bottleneck on the westbound lanes. We've got weekend travelers flooding the turnpike, meaning it's bumper-to-bumper traffic for the foreseeable future. I'd get comfortable. You might be there for a while.
Toyota trucks. Let's go places.
So we're not all professional anglers. We don't all compete on the biggest stage. But inside us all burns the same fire to be a champion. It's why you get out early, brave the toughest conditions, point the bow toward adventure and put the hammer down. For whatever trophy or fish or memory you're chasing, count on a Mercury Pro XS outboard, engineered to deliver the speed and reliability you need to power the champion inside you.
Our SV spool design is made with one thing in mind: casting control. Whether it is casting lightweight baits, skipping, pitching, or casting into the wind, the Tatula SV reels virtually eliminate backlashes when set properly. Now with our groundbreaking technology and innovations, backlashes can be a thing of the past.
Discover the hidden gems and pristine waters of Tennessee's Bill-Dance signature lakes. Conveniently located throughout Tennessee, there's a signature lake near you, covering all regions of the volunteer state, all endorsed by the legendary Bill Dance himself. Whether it's a weekend getaway or an extended vacation, create timeless memories at Tennessee's Bill Dance signature lakes. Plan your trip today.
Welcome back, live cast, looking at the shores of Lake Ray Roberts, a breezy Lake Ray Roberts out there today. Obviously, high forecasted winds. We're here in the Expo. It is popping. I mean, people have been all over us, I feel like.
There are people everywhere.
And things are certainly happening in here. Things are happening out on the water. This is day one of the 2025 Bass Pro Shops Bassmaster Classic presented by Under Armour. I've got two of my favorite people to talk fishing with me. I feel like we set the bar pretty high the first segment. A lot of good stuff there. Going to get into plenty more. I got to ask y'all, okay? There's been a lot of records talk, and we talked to Matt about it, the last segment, but do we see some records get broken, whether it be the total overall 3-day weight, whether it be the single-day bag, and I can run through those. Single-day bag, biggest in Bassmaster Classic history, Paul Mueller, 32.3. That was at Lake Guntersville, 2014. Right now we're pacing a little behind that, just day one. Obviously a long ways to go, but do we think we see that record get broke this week here at Lake Ray Roberts?
It's possible. And look, some of these guys, I say some of them, they're all sandbaggers. Every single
right,
one.
That's true. There's truth.
You've got Trey at 26. I highly doubt he has 26.
Yeah, those even numbers are scary.
Yeah. So literally, he could have 29 right now or 30. I don't know. But yeah. Look, if you're in, there's a few states in this great country that you put us there. You take 50 of the best guys in the world, dude. You stand a chance of breaking records, and this is definitely a body of water that it can be done on for sure.
Yeah, and I think if the conditions do get better, and I think they're going to, and I'm not sure exactly what the wind's going to do, but you get a day where they can really just go after those really big ones. Some of the guys live scope and whatnot. You're going to see. I think there's a good potential for it.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Out on the water right now with Scott Martin. Saw him early this morning fishing some of that submerged vegetation like we talked about with vibrating jigs. Looks like that's what he's doing here now. How about the 3-day weight record? 69.11, Kevin Van Dam, 2011. Do you think we can see that get broken? Because that's the one that most of the guys fishing really seem to think that can get broken.
Yeah, I think so. What do you think?
Yeah, there's no doubt. We're in Texas, man. Everything's bigger in Texas.
Where was that at? Catawatchie, or not Catawatchie, but that's where Van Dam did?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a special event, of course.
They live here.
Absolutely. And Brad, I want to ask you this because I know I hear the radio ads all the time about the Texas Hammer, but in my eyes, you are the Texas Hammer, all right? I want you to tell me what's the difference between Ray Roberts and, let's say, Fork, Lake of the Pines, a lot of the lakes that you fish. Like, what are some of the similarities and what are some of the differences? Because there's some uniqueness to this lake, right?
Yeah, this lake to me, it is more similar probably to Fork than anything. It's most of those are boat art trees. It's a different kind of tree, but it has a lot of standing timber in it. Fort actually used to look like this. A lot of it's fell, but there's a lot of rock. This lake's still a little bit unique, even in itself. There's not everything looks like this, but it has a lot of rock. There's a lot of offshore structure here, and when I say structure, I mean man-made stuff. There's a lot of roads, house foundations, pond dams. This place is eat up with all that. And I really believe, we're watching guys power fish right now. and scope and really doing everything because the lake offers everything. But I think probably whoever wins this, I mean, they'll probably mix that up. I don't think it's going to be somebody that's just living on the bank or something, I mean. And offshore doesn't have to be deep. We had talked about that earlier. I mean, that
Sure.
could be 6 to 12 foot, But that's something that definitely it's known here on this body of water, and I think it's something that can definitely play. You can pull up and catch 2 or 3 big ones. I watched Zaldain early this morning when I got out of the shower. I watched Zaldain. He was throwing a big swim bait, and he's seen it on scope, seen a couple of fish follow it up. And he throws a football jig out there and catches. And I'm sure he was probably fishing a pond dam or, a road. I don't know what he was fishing, but it was structure. It was structure, right. And it wasn't deep. You know what I mean? It was relatively shallow. So
well, most of these females they're going to be start showing up in those little places where there's structure, where we're going to kind of set there to go spawn.
Right.
In the middle of these pockets, out in this timber and stuff like that. So that's what seems to be where a lot of these guys are focusing on.
Yep.
So let's play pretend here, okay? So coming from a guy like me who will never fish a Bassmaster Classic, talking to 2 guys that have fished the Bassmaster Classic, observing the way this tournament looks right now, it's setting up, how would you guys want to tackle this? Because it's a lot of diversity. Like, you can do, it seems like, just about anything you want to fit your strengths. Like, what would you be doing, Joey, out there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, kind of out here, like we're looking at Scott right now and all this timber. I would go. The weather is going to dictate so much. It's hard to really kind of dial something in, but. That's what I would be looking. I would look for areas a little bit offshore. We're not talking deep, but sitting on some of these trees or some structure that Brad was talking about. And I would be, looking at throwing, doing some of the live scope stuff at a minnow. But if the conditions were rough or something and I couldn't do that, I really like what Scott's doing. He's kind of throwing a bladed jig around some of these trees. So that's what I would do. A lot of moving baits, but at the same time, try and target some of those bigger females that are staging up here waiting to spawn.
Yep, I feel the same way, really. I mean, and I kind of said that a little bit a while ago, and I think that's, Joey's saying the same thing. I don't think you can really lock in, and I could be totally wrong. I don't think you can lock in on one thing just because this does not have a giant population. I think they're not pulling into whatever you're doing by the droves. You know what I mean? Like, right. I think that you can scope a little bit, catch a few scoping. I think you can pull up on some structure, catch some structure. I think you can go down the bank, fishing grass with a chatterbait, a spinnerbait, flipping. You saw Hackney flipping. It's a relatively versatile lake. You can do just about anything, and I really believe no matter how it's won, I think that's probably what it's going to take. I don't think you can lock into one thing, but who knows? I'm not fishing it. I'm here commentating it, but I don't think you can.
Well, but those are great. That's kind of what you need to do to target some of those fish. I mean, those techniques. So,
and you guys mentioned it there, but being able to adapt, right? I mean, in a springtime tournament, things are changing literally by the second, by the hour, by the day. You have to be able to adapt. Like, if you get locked into one thing for too long, it can be a detriment, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a kiss of death a lot of times in a springtime tournament.
Yeah, in the changing of the wind, like where she was talking about the big north wind and south wind, like you got to be able to go new places and do different stuff. I mean, you have to.
Out on the water right now with Corey Johnston. Speaking of doing different things, seems like everywhere we go, somebody's doing something a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's just as apt to catch a giant here any second.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
This looks nice and calm. It's got the sun. Like, a female could pull up in here. She could be warming up, suspended up high, sitting back here in this little pocket. Like, there's just no telling.
We have not watched a single angler on live that I didn't suspect was about to catch a giant.
Yeah, it looks good. Texas looks so good, man. I mean, anywhere. It could happen anywhere, though. It's the truth. I mean, all these places these guys aren't in these places just for no reason.
No, I mean.
They're around.
He's gotten bit 100%.
Yeah.
That is the thing, though. You look at those trees, and you can see a few of them there on camera, but I promise you, if you was to shine over his shoulder, it's a forest. And that's kind of, like you said a while ago, everything looks so good.
It's a little overwhelming, too.
It can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
It really is, But I promise you that they have figured or in the process of figuring out, all those trees aren't created equal.
Right.
They really aren't.
Right.
And with our sonars nowadays, I mean, you can see, because everything, on a tree or a stump or whatever, in my opinion, a lot of it, it's all about the root system. It's what type of root system, a lot of times, what type of root system you have. You can see it.
Now, I get a lot of questions like, how do you go to a lake like this where there's so much vast cover and like how do you narrow that down to catch fish? I mean, that's what we try and figure out, because there are little patterns in here. There may be a creek channel in there, in a little drain or a ditch or something, and those big females may be using that. So that's kind of typically where I go and focus my time first thing is something like that, to see if they're in there. And then if they're not, then I may look out. When I went on Seminole, they were sitting on giant trees, like the biggest stumps you could see. You couldn't see them over the water. They was under the water on giant trees. So you just kind of find those little patterns within what you're fishing, and you go from there, And they usually hold to the same stuff. Like there could be a pattern, and sometimes it's random, It's nothing in bass fishing is set in stone. I've said that 100 times.
A lot of times, and I know Joey, a lot of times what turns you on to something starts out random.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
It's like it's a luck bite. Like, wait a second, and then you know what I mean?
Right,
you get bite 2, and you're like, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. That's going on. Okay.
Yeah.
So. Fellas, I'll be honest. I wish we could do this for the rest of the day, but it is time to hit a break. I can't thank both of you enough for joining me this afternoon. This has been an absolute blast. I hope we get to do it again. Guys, we will be right back here at Lake Ray Roberts for the 2025 Bass Pro Shops Bassmaster Classic presented by Under Armour.
The best of the best just got better. Clearer images, sharper resolution, improved target separation. That's right, better. LiveScope Plus, only from Garmin.
Got your eye on a new Yamaha outboard? Then get to your dealer now for the New Year, New Reliability Sales Event. For a limited time, purchase a new Yamaha 30 to 450 horsepower outboard and get up to 7 years of Yamaha coverage protection free. Or earn up to $200 in dealer credit on eligible 2.5 to 25 horsepower models. With amazing offers like these, Yamaha's New Year, New Reliability Sales Event has never been a better value.
They are always by your side. They are your constant companions and love unconditionally. They deserve a lifetime of adventure. Black Gold Explorer is made for the ones who love the great outdoors and who love to experience it with their best friend. With recipes to support a healthy coat, immunity, and mobility, your dog will have all they need to go farther. Because fresh air, hard work, and adventure are all worth sharing. Black Gold Explorer. Unleash adventure.
The newest addition to the Flashpoint line, the deep version. Having a jerkbait that gets down to that 10 to 12 foot range is a must. The reason I'm grabbing or picking up the Flashpoint is because of that blade right there. It does two things. It provides flash, the most important thing. It's a different Flashpoint under the water that the fish haven't seen. It's a small, unique profile that mimics a small bait fish. The deep will get you down to that 10 to 12 foot range and reach those deeper suspended fish.
It's the moment when everything is on the line and precision, power, and control make all the difference. A moment over 20 years in the making, anchored on loyalty, trust, and support that goes beyond all expectations. A relentless pursuit of perfection. All born from a revolutionary idea to help you rule the water. Power Pole.
That is a tugboat. That is a tugboat. That's a big tugboat. What a nice fish.
Welcome back to Live Cast here at the 2025 Bass Pro Shops Bassmaster Classic. beautiful Lake Ray Roberts, seeing an overhead view there. Just a few years ago when we were here, obviously the water was up significantly more than that. And you know what they say? They say we save the best for last. And I think that's the case here. We got our special guest here, Mark Menendez. I said it to the last guys, but don't tell them. You might be my favorite person to talk fishing about. I feel like anytime I write an article for Bassmaster.com, for the magazine, you're usually the first source that I use. And I appreciate you for stopping by. And we got my guy Andrew back on the set. So we're about to have a big time here, right?
Well, you know, the reason that I do that for you is I'm the only guy that will call you back after you called me. So you're stuck with me. That's what it is. You know, Kyle. So anyway, but glad to be here. We're going to have some fun this segment, and man, the guys are catching them good.
No doubt.
These conditions.
You look at Bass Track right now. Still got Trey McKenna leading the way with 26 even. Easton Fothergill still trailing right behind him with 23-4. Lee Livesey. I have not checked Bass. I have not checked Bass Track here recently. Third place, 21-12. That's a move I think we all expected to see at some point. Starting to settle in a little bit.
Well, I mean, you know, Lee's a Texas boy here. He's used to fishing here. But Lee is a guy that really targets that bigger than average fish everywhere we go. He's fearless, not afraid to go out there and just fish for those big bites. And he went on a flurry a few minutes ago that was impressive.
I didn't even get to notice Bass Track. That is exciting. Fires me up. Still got Wes Logan with 4 fish for 20 pounds, 5 ounces. Certainly one big bite away there from making some big noise moving forward. But, man, things are starting to happen this afternoon. I think we kind of expected it, Andrew, but starting to shake out.
Yeah, you're starting to see it materialize a little bit, and Lee charging up the leaderboard is definitely one of those things. But, I mean, another story there is Wes Logan. I mean, he's got plenty of time here. You could have one more fish show up on this and just completely shake up that top 5. And then you've got people, you know, that are probably, I'd say, you know, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th place too, that again, the day is not over. And I think we've probably got some folks that we don't quite have the full story of yet that I'm sure we'll get to here in a minute.
Well, I'm sure. And, you know, we've got this afternoon segment coming. You know, here we are, we're spring, we've got fish that are moving, looking to spawn, all that pre-spawn movement coming. You know, that latter hour and a half, Andrew, that's when I get that big bite. That's when I get that really big fish. And we've had really tough conditions here, so their practice has been real different just due to the wind. Hard to move around, hard to get those fish to bite. But doggone, here this last 2 hours, I look to see a couple of real knothead juggernaut big fish get caught.
Absolutely. And I got to ask you, too, obviously the pressure mounts even more when it's the Bassmaster Classic versus any other event. But, you know, if you are one of those guys that has 3 fish for a solid start, 4 fish for 20 pounds, 5 ounces like Wes Logan, knowing that this lake, you know, based on everything we've heard, is more of a size lake versus numbers lake, how hard is that to not let that pressure mount on you as the time dwindles away?
Well, take Wes Logan in case here. He's got 4 for 20, so he's got 4 good ones or a couple of big ones, whatever. Wes just needs to go find him a 2-pounder.
Sure.
And, you know, a 2-pounder keeps him in the game. That's 2 more pounds he doesn't have to catch. You know, Lee just came through here with this big flurry. Had one of those been an 8 or a 9, he's leading the tournament.
Sure.
So if you're down there like Little John Garrett is with 3, with 1 big one, hey, get 1 more in there.
Sure.
So it's only a 4-pounder, but that really cuts that gap. So this lake is kind of a gem in the rough. It's got those quality fish. It reminds me of a place that's near and dear to me in Richland Chambers when I caught a giant there years ago and set records. Not a lot of fish, but a lot of adult quality 4, 5, 6, and bigger than that pound fish. So it's going to get exciting.
Yeah, and when you look at these guys that, you know, I think we might look back on this later in the day, and the other story might be the fish that didn't hit, you know, Bass Track that, you know, could spin somebody out. We saw some dumped fish early in the day, too, that can haunt you.
Sure.
And I would say on a fishery like this, it's even more important to capitalize on every single fish you hook because you're fishing for 6, 7 bites a day. How do you get that through your head? And is that something that just comes with time after fishing on this biggest stage at the Bassmaster Classic, something that you just, you know, the guys that aren't the 18, that this is their first year, do they have the advantage there?
You do, because you know it's almost like a marathon, Andrew. You know you're going to get 5, 6, 7 chances. And you can't dwindle one of those away, especially by doing something stupid, by like not retying or just not being careful, not checking hook points. You learn that over time. And the last year and a half, 2 years, we haven't had a lot of slugfests on the Bassmaster Elite Series. We've had these grinders where it's 5, 6, 7 tournaments with big numbers. So you kind of get used to that. The guy that it's his first classic, That's the guy that has the pressure of the world on. And if you can somehow look past that and know, hey, I'm here, it's just a fishing tournament. I've done it 1,000 times. But it's kind of a big fishing.
Yeah, easier said than done, I'm sure.
It is, but it's a great mindset to try to trick yourself to get into.
Yeah.
That's the funny part about being where we're at behind the camera watching versus being out there. Like, I will never forget for as long as I live the 2018, I believe, Classic that Jordan Lee won, watching Jason Christie that final day with 4 fish, and you're just thinking in your head, all you need is one keeper. And, like, that's so easy to say, but also, like, you know, you hear about guys talk about it all the time in the Bassmaster Classic. You're not here to finish second. You're not here to finish 50th. You want to win. So that is so crucial to stick to your guns versus, you know, lay up, right?
Yeah, laying up here is not an option. You're here to win this event.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers who comes in second. It's a nice payday on second place, and it's a nice little resume boost there. But you're not remembered as the guy that came in second.
Right.
The guy that wins is who you want to be. So it's a mindset to get there, and it's what has to happen as an angler, and you really press sometimes.
Yeah.
Really press hard.
Well, when you were talking, Kyle, a second ago about just, you know, Jason Christie and trying to find that extra bite. I mean, we had that a couple years ago sort of with Gussie as well, where you were on that last day and you were like, you know, you just one more to solidify it a little bit. We're all sitting there watching going, oh, my goodness, you're so close. One more. You know you're in the right spot. You know they're there. But again, we're behind the desk. Way easier said than done.
Yeah. Just push him over the finish line. Come on, give him just a keeper.
We're going to head out on the water with Trey McKenna, tournament leader, still with 26 pounds even. And there's been some thought maybe he's sandbagging a little bit. I haven't got to see every single one of his keepers yet, so it's a little hard to say. But anytime when you see an even number on Bass Track, you kind of scratch your head and you're like, I don't know. I mean,
unless it's 2 pounds.
Yeah,
2
that's
pounds.
true.
Probably
That's
right.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Out on Trey McKenna right now. Looks like he's fishing a shallow bank. You know, we've talked about it so much already, but the lake looks so different from the last time we were here in 2021. I mean, the water was up in the trees that you see up there in the bank, so you never really got to see the bank composition anywhere.
Yeah.
And you're seeing it now, and I mean, this looks more like an Ozarks lake than the lake that we saw fished in 2021.
Yeah, there's several places on Table Rock that I'd wind a plug on a place like that. It is kind of unique to see this different bottom composition. The last time we were here, it was a bush flipping tournament.
Yep.
To know that there's this much rock and know that we're in that pre-spawn period, it's probably a pretty good area right there to be winding a plug around on.
So you're telling me you'd keep the old gravel dog on us right there?
I might have to throw a Series 4 in there, too.
Okay,
You know.
all right.
I still have several of those, and those worked for me the other day on Kentucky Lake. So.
So, Mark, you've been around for a while. Obviously, when you watch someone like Trey McKenna and just, you know, the success that he's had so early on, and, you know, I think we've seen some growth out of him this past year, too. But what is it about someone like Trey McKenna at that young of age that makes him so special?
Well, he's spent a lot of time on the water. Time on the waters, you can't replace that. A lot of advantages there in that and in other ways, too. So it's good to see someone that has spent some time and done a lot of fishing and had some success that way. He's really targeted and done well here in Texas. I have to say Texas has been a stronghold for him. So it's kind of unique to see someone of that age handle the pressure well.
Obviously out on the water still with Trey McKenna. And to that point, you know, something I wanted to ask is, you know, it's the same in all sports, right? Obviously, we see it in bass fishing a lot. You get a rookie that comes in full steam ahead, has a great rookie year, and then isn't able to sustain it. We see it all the time. You know, you don't want to get into, of course, names and stuff, but that certainly happens. It happens in other sports, baseball, basketball, football, you name it. You come in, you have something to prove as a rookie, and then you fall off. Like, it's hard to sustain. Somebody like yourself that's been doing this for a very long time, how do you sustain that success? Like, that's probably got to be the hardest thing.
Well, part of it is preparation, Kyle. You've got to have all your tackles. You have to all your homework. Part of it is risk management, and that's what you do as an angler, and that's the hardest part of it. You work on your rig. You make sure you've done your maintenance. You've made sure you've changed your oil. You pull props off to make sure there's no line behind them. All of those little things can spoil a day.
Yeah.
On the Elite Series, you cannot lose a day. You cannot lose any time. So with that, there's a lot that goes into that. And I spent a tremendous amount of time in my tackle still to this day. I spent a tremendous amount of time working on my boat. My wife said, what'd you tear up this time? I said, no, I'm just checking something doesn't go wrong. So being that risk manager is a very important part of this that does not get talked about a lot.
Mark, stick with us. We're going to head to a break here shortly. Plenty to be determined the rest of this day. I think looking at Bass Track, there is plenty to believe. We are far from being done on this day one here at the 2025 Bass Pro Shops Bassmaster Classic, presented by Under Armour. Folks, we will be right back after this break.
There's a big one in the reeds ahead. I know it. He doesn't care who I am, what titles I have, how many blue trophies I got, that I've fished since I could walk, or that I've spent countless hours on the water for this moment. It's me versus the fish, and I like to win.
What a time to be live. Humminbird's new Mega Live 2 forward-facing sonar is your front row seat to every epic catch, unfolding as it happens, with more clarity than ever before. Decipher between dinks and diamonds in the brush. Choose between 15 color palettes and 3 views. Zero in with enhanced bait tracking and marvel at all the jaw-dropping detail. New Mega Live 2. Next-gen clarity, next-level fun. Only with Humminbird.
Hey friends, something new from Seaguar. It's a new leader material called Pounce. And the great thing about this compared to like a monofilament leader is, number one, it's gonna sink faster, okay? Number two, basically, it's completely invisible. It's 100% fluorocarbon used with the resins from Seaguar. And the best thing about Pounce, it will not break the bank. If you want to hook up with the biggest bass of the year and land it, Pounce is for you. Go to Seaguar.com for more information.
As a professional fisherman, every decision I make is to win.
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 The boat I drive,
baits I throw,
the gear I wear. I do it to win. I do it to win.
I do it to win.
I do it to win.
Because when I'm on the water, I want to be the best. I want to be the best.
I want to be the best.
I want to be the best.
That's why.
And that's why.
And that's why.
And that's why.
We wear the best.
Forged from the harshest environments, Dakota lithium batteries are built to endure. Engineered with lithium iron phosphate, they give you twice the runtime, at half the weight, last 5 times longer, and provide exceptional lifetime value.
Let's go!
Backed by an 11-year warranty, they keep you on the water from sunup to sundown. Go further, last longer, play harder.
There we go.
Right there. Still sees jerk minnow right there. Oh my gosh, this is it. It's a giant bass!
Welcome back. The final segment here of the live cast here at the 2025 Bass Pro Shops Bassmaster Classic, seeing the sights from the Fort Worth stockyards, and we're seeing the sights inside here of the Bassmaster Classic Expo. Things are popping here. I made the comment earlier, it's starting to really hack me off how many people I'm seeing walking around with fishing gear and fishing rods, because I haven't had a second to look at anything yet. But that's one of the best parts about the Bassmaster Classic is the daggum Expo.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a family reunion, Kyle. I get to see people that I only see here at Classics. I see them year after year after year, and it becomes a big family reunion with a lot of neat stuff. New baits, new baits here, new baits there, new rods. You need another bait? You need another rod and reel?
I want them. Do I need them? Probably not.
All right. Just checking.
Don't get the opportunity to go fishing quite as much as I'd like to anymore. But, Andrew, I know that's got to be tough for you. I mean, you got a Tackle Talk podcast, and you're sitting here behind a desk, trapped here, and you can't go see the Expo.
Yeah, you're in the ice cream store and you're not allowed to sample anything. You're just watching other people get to eat ice cream. But no, it's great. And let's be honest, we'll probably make our way around and spend a few bucks at some point. I guarantee we will. But yeah, it's really cool just to see everybody. This is the best thing ever because it's the public. Everybody gets to come here. You're buying. You're having fun. And where else do you get to be in this big of a room with people that are obsessed with the exact same thing that you're obsessed with?
That's true. That's very, very true.
And it's free.
And it's free.
It's free.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Rangers opening day next week, and I had to pay a pretty penny to be there for that. This is free. And this is the absolute best. Out on the water with Greg Hackney. I made the comment earlier, I think I could watch Greg Hackney out on the water all day long, just process information. Obviously, he's such a dialed-in angler, especially when he's doing what he's doing now, flipping shallow cover. Mark, are you surprised to see this or no?
Well, no, I'm not surprised to see this. I'm just surprised to see where he is on Bass Track right now. He seems to be a little further up the creeks than everybody else is, which that's his style. Have these fish just not filtered to him yet? But the one thing that could happen is a good warm night, and these fish just decide, okay, we're headed to the back of the creek, and who are they going to meet? They're going to meet Greg Hackney back there. So this is Greg's style, his signature strength, and when this bite does happen, there's not an angler that's any more deadly than Greg Hackney.
And, today could be just a survival day. I mean, we've talked about it already on the show, is that the weather forecast is calling for warmer weather the next 2 days. Now, I'm not the expert, but like on paper, it seems like what he's doing could get much better with a warm night and a super warm day tomorrow.
Absolutely. I think that's what we may see. But the problem is, will he be a little too far behind? But here's the thing about this lake. 3 bites can weigh 20. 4 bites can weigh 25 or 30 or whatever. So if that angler stumbles, if that right in front of him where he is right now, if that's the stretch, in 5 seconds, 5-10 minutes, it's a whole new ball game. So even if you're on Bass Track right now, we have some professional sandbaggers out there too, guys. We all know that.
Whole field of them.
A whole bunch of them. But this is a place that in 10 minutes, the entire scoreboard can be flip-flopped in just a matter of 10 minutes. And that can be the first 10 minutes, or it can be the last 10 minutes of the event.
And Greg has between the ears what you need to be able to do that, right? He's got 19 years, I believe, experience in the Bassmaster Classic. We got 18 guys here that have never been here ever.
Right.
He's been in the Bassmaster Classic almost as long as some of these guys have been on the earth. So he's got the mental part of it down, which I think is one of the toughest parts of fishing the Classic, I'm assuming.
It is, but here's the other thing about Greg. Greg owns 3 of the 4 major chess sets on winning a championship, on another circuit, winning that Angler of the Year, winning our Angler of the Year. And the only caveat he doesn't have right now is that Bassmasters Classic.
Yeah.
So there's extra motivation for Greg because he would love to be the first angler in history to collect those 4 chess pieces.
And I think it's just a matter of time, right? But also, how long have we been saying that? I mean, it's Greg Hackney. I wrote a column about it the other day. I think Greg Hackney's going to win a Bassmaster Classic. And every single one of them, you go into it thinking, well, Greg Hackney's got a great chance in this one because at this point, what does he not excel at? I mean, what body of water is not his style? I mean, I've heard him say that before. Like, at this point, he's been doing it long enough, just like yourself, to where it's like, yeah, there's really not anywhere that I'm like not comfortable with.
Well, absolutely, and this is his playing field. This is the place that he wants to be. He wants to be in water less than waist deep. That's where he catches those big ones. Let's go the other side of that, Kyle. With all of his experience and with all of his accolades, he's fearless.
Sure.
So that little bit of fear, if I don't get this accomplished, that's not it. It's the next pitch. I'm going to catch that 7-pounder. And could that be something that slows him down, having all of that experience and maybe not willing to make some sort of a small adjustment? I don't think so. Greg's straightforward. He's a straight shooter, and he's a straight flipper at that.
And I would assume that, again, you guys know Greg better than I do, but I would assume just the way that he is and what I do know about him, I think the Bassmaster Classic is what keeps him motivated for his entire career at this point. And that's a dangerous thing when you got someone as experienced and as intimidating as Greg Hackney, who's got one thing on his mind that he knows, okay, I've collected the other infinity stones here. I got one more to go. And, I definitely would say that if we were taking bets, I think by the time his career is over, he will have a Bassmaster Classic. He's not going to stop till he does.
No, he is the ultimate competitor. When It's the win. You know, if he finishes second, well, he was coming out of his mouth, he would say, well, I was the first loser. Greg is a winner in what he does and how he fishes, and just a fearless competitor.
Talking about a lot of experience, we're going to head out on the water to somebody with a little less experience, just a few less years, in Trey McKenna, tournament leader right now. Obviously still has 26 even on Bass Track, leading the way. Certainly, you know, experience beyond his years. But, Mark, I do want to mention, I want to go back to something you said a second ago, because when you talked about Greg Hackney having that
Doing good, buddy. I'm feeling good. I like it. You know, I felt like I could have caught some more. I definitely felt like if I'd have stayed on some fish, you know, I would have definitely would have caught maybe some more weight, but at what cost? You know, like, there's not a ton of fish there, so every fish I hook's one less I'm probably going to catch. So I decided we scratched it, go do something else for a little while, till 3 or something. I'm going to go in maybe a little early, just make sure my fish is all right, get them took care of, just so we don't have anything there. And then head to weigh in and see where we stand, boys. I don't know. Should I push harder? We'll find out. Should I lay it off? I don't know. It's hard to say. It just depends what their weight is, you know. Because if I'm 5 pounds behind or 4 or 5 pounds behind, maybe I should have caught some more. But at the same time, I'm trying to think of the overall weight, not what I can just catch today. I don't want to burn everything. I still have a good amount of stuff, to be honest. I got quite a bit of stuff. So, you know, I kind of thought that 72-ish. I thought, I don't know, that's kind of what I thought, you know, maybe somebody have a big day, you know, maybe like us even, we got a big day today, tomorrow if we slack off a little bit, and then come back with another bag or something. I'm thinking around 70.
70 pounds would break the record for the Bassmaster Classic 3-day total. 5-fish limit anyways. Rick Clunn was sure to mention that he does have the overall record, and he went into that. So we'll go with that as well. You know, I think maybe we can co-sign them. They're both leading it, but just a we're out there watching Trey McKenna right now, just fishing an area that, like, again, it is so funny to see this lake look like this based on what we saw it in 2021. I mean, you've got giant boulders out there off the bank that he's throwing at. Again, reminds me of a East Oklahoma, Missouri, Northwest Arkansas type lake, which obviously we're not far from any of those areas, but it's just so vastly different than what we saw, a few years ago.
Well, that's the good thing. You have these different personalities on these lakes, and the fish are going to act a little bit different depending upon the time of the year and the seasonal pattern. It's good to see that this lake doesn't have a lot of just straight mud in it. It's got good spawning areas along those rocks, and maybe that's why some of that bush fishing was so good a couple of years ago when the water was a little higher. The diversity always makes the lake better. It recruits those fish. It gives them places to hide. They get to be bigger fish. Recruitment's a big thing. And some lakes don't do well with recruitment because they don't have that diverse habitat, just a plain old habitat. You just can't get those big fish in it, and this lake has big ones.
Mark, quickly, what is going to lead today here at the Bassmaster Classic? A rough estimate. We're nearing up on a break. I want to know what you think it's going to take to lead day one of the Bassmaster Classic.
I haven't looked at Bass Track much, just a couple of times. Anywhere in that 25 to 26, you've done your job. You've really done your job today. And the guys that are lurking back there with 20 to 22, they're still in it. They didn't lose the Bassmaster Classic on the first day. But who comes down to stringing together 5 big bites tomorrow, and then you'll have another good bites the next day? That's 70, 72 pounds. Could be it.
Andrew, quickly, prediction. What's your prediction? Leading weight today.
I'm going to say 27-1.
I like it. Still so much left to be determined here at day one of the 2025 Bassmaster Classic. Trey McKenna leading the way, 26 pounds. Folks, don't go anywhere. We will be back tomorrow. Stay tuned on Bassmaster.com.